I still remember the exact shade of blue on the HR office walls, the kind you find in discount store paint, meant to soothe, but somehow only highlighted the sterile glare of the fluorescent lights overhead. It was a Tuesday afternoon, late March, when I walked into that little room, confidence draped over my shoulders like a freshly tailored blazer. 3 years of grueling late nights and meticulously crafted proposals had led me here, a promise of recognition, an overdue promotion, a raise that would finally reflect the blood, sweat, and tears I poured into every client deliverable. I sat down across from Marissa, our HR director, whose expression hovered somewhere between polite boredom and amused detachment. On her desk lay a neatly typed form with my name at the top and an empty space next to approved and denied. I took a breath, imagining that far-off moment when my title would change, when my salary would leap a decent few figures, and when I could finally stop skimping on groceries to cover my rent. After reviewing your performance, she began, voice smooth as silk, we're not able to grant a salary increase at this time. A smirk flickered across her lips, just the slightest, yet enough to feel like a slap. My heart stuttered. But I led 4 major accounts to 23% revenue growth, delivered 2 projects under budget, and consistently received client satisfaction scores above 95%. My voice cracked on the last word, betraying every ounce of frustration I'd been holding back. She tapped her pen against the desk. We appreciate your contributions truly, but the budget this quarter is tight, and priorities have shifted. She clicked her pen closed, as though sealing my fate. I wanted to point out that I single-handedly onboarded our biggest new client that very morning, but the words stuck in my throat. I left her office with the weight of disbelief heavy in my chest, the hallway's muted buzz feeling suddenly ominous. In the break room, I poured myself a cup of stale coffee and stared at my reflection in the microwave door. The woman smirking back at me looked tired and angry. I clenched my jaw. Something inside snapped. That evening, I sat at my tiny kitchen table with my laptop open and a single yellow legal pad beside it. The city lights outside my window were a jigsaw of headlights and neon signs, each one a reminder that life kept moving, always moving, whether I was being recognized for my effort or not. I felt rage bubbling, hot and insistent, demanding action. Not a resignation letter, not a silent quitting. No, far more satisfying than that. In corporate land, your lifeblood is your clients. They are the revenue arteries that keep the whole organism alive, and I knew better than anyone exactly which arteries to clamp. Our biggest accounts, half of the company's monthly revenue, if reports were accurate, were mine to lose or leverage. HR thought they could dismiss me with polite bureaucracy. I would show them what real leverage feels like. My plan formed in the hours between midnight and dawn, scribbled and redrawn until it emerged crystalline in my mind. Build trust with key clients. I would ramp up personal outreach, late-night check-ins, surprise deliverables, little touches that no one else would bother with. By morning, they'd think I was more dedicated than ever. Subtly shift dependencies. I'd reposition myself as the indispensable linchpin on every project, make sure they requested my involvement by name, forwarded my emails when asking for changes, CC'd me on every approval. Coordinate an exodus. When the time was right, I'd approach them with an irresistible proposition. Follow me to my nascent consultancy, a lean, no-frills operation, offering the same expertise at a fraction of the cost. I knew their pain points. I'd package my pitch around those. Sit back and watch. As they signed contracts with me, our former employers' pipelines would start to dry up. The revenue shortfall, particularly at a time when budgets were already supposedly tight, would send shockwaves through their hierarchy. And HR, with their smug denials, would feel that burn the worst. By 3:47 a.m., I had the outline, a prototype email drafted, and my heart pounding with equal parts adrenaline and fear. This was madness, but delicious, exhilarating madness. The next day at work, I slipped into my role as usual, cheery hellos in the hallway, lunch invitations, and the occasional shared complaint about the coffee machine. Every interaction was a calculated performance. No one suspected the storm brewing behind my calm smile. At 10 a.m., I dialed into a strategy call with Metrocorp, our largest client. I'd been their account manager for nearly 2 years, guiding them through marketing overhauls and data-driven ad campaigns. Halfway through my presentation on Q2 deliverables, the Metrocorp VP of Marketing, Alicia, interrupted. Actually, Jordan, can we adjust the budget allocations? I'd like to reallocate some funds to the A/A testing we talked about last month. My heart skipped a beat, exactly what I wanted. Of course, Alicia, let me have the revised figures over to you by the end of the day. Later, I stayed late, tweaking projections, drafting memos, weaving in terms that emphasized my unique approach. I made sure every document landed in her inbox before 7 p.m. with a follow-up text. Sent the adjustments. LMK if this sparks any thoughts. She replied almost instantly. Perfect, Jordan. As always. Perfect. 2 days later, I scheduled a casual lunch with Alicia at a small bistro near her office. Over quinoa bowls and green tea, I shared industry gossip and lunch break anecdotes, letting the camaraderie bloom. When the conversation lulled, I said, "You know, I've been thinking, when budgets are tight, you need a partner who won't nickel and dime you on every line item. I've been drafting a leaner proposal for Metrocorp, 15% lower cost for the same deliverables. Would you like me to send it over?" Her eyes lit up. "Are you serious? Jordan, you'd do that?" I sipped my tea, letting the moment stretch. "I would. I believe in value over volume. I'll send you something tonight." That night, I prepared 2 proposal decks, one for my new consultancy, under a name I'd registered just weeks before Bluebridge Solutions, and one for our existing firm, a decoy that looked intentionally half-baked. I emailed Alicia the first, fervent and enthusiastic. A few minutes later, I forwarded the second to HR's generic client updates address, her smirk still fresh in my mind. Over the next week, a domino effect set in motion. One by one, key clients began to ping me privately. Peak Vista Analytics. "Jordan, your new proposal is exactly what we need for our next phase. How soon can you start?" "Green Edge Capital. Your approach is so much more flexible than what we've been getting. Let's talk contracts." "North Star Nonprofit. I forwarded your deck to the board. They're impressed by the cost savings and agility you promise." By the time HR noticed that deliverables were slipping, emails unanswered, project leads unassigned, it was too late. Warnings and emergency meetings littered the calendar. In the chaos, HR scrambled budgets, pledging to allocate funds to key performers, but I was already halfway out the door, locked in calls with Alicia and Peak Vista, finalizing agreements. I took a celebratory bubble bath that night. Perhaps the first purely selfish indulgence I'd allowed myself in years, and for the first time in a long while, I slept peacefully. The following Monday, I strolled into the office wearing a crisp white shirt and Jordan brand confidence. Whispers followed me through the hallways, rumors of resignations and contract losses. At the receptionist desk, I saw Marissa's glazed-over expression as she scanned reports on her computer. Our eyes met briefly. She gave me a polite nod, but the smug smirk was nowhere to be found. In its place, shock, maybe panic. Moments later, the CEO's voice boomed across the open-plan space. "Gather in the conference room, now." 30 employees packed into the sleek glass room, the tension palpable. The CEO, a typically unflappable man, looked drained, his suit rumpled, tie askew. Behind him, the projection screen displayed a waterfall chart of plummeting revenue. He cleared his throat. I don't know how this happened. Half our major clients have signed with Bluebridge Solutions. We lost nearly 40% of our billed hours last week alone." He turned to Marissa. "HR, how did we miss this? Why weren't the risk flags?" Marissa swallowed. "Sir, we were reviewing requests in the standard quarterly cycle." Jordan's departures came as a complete surprise. A murmur rose among the staff. My heart thudded. Every eye was on me. That was my cue. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and flashed that same calm smile I'd worn in the microwave reflection. "Actually," I said, voice carrying across the hushed room, "you weren't looking for me. But I was looking for an opportunity." I pressed a button on the remote. The screen flickered to my proposal deck. Bluebridge's branding, sleek lines, clear ROI projections. Here's what I offered: Metrocorp, Peak Vista, Green Edge, and North Star. Each contract signed within the last 4 days. Feel free to verify with them directly. A stunned silence settled. Then, the CEO's jaw clenched so hard I thought it might crack. This is sabotage." I shook my head. "You denied my request, my raise with a smirk. You told me the budget was tight. But you failed to see that neglecting talent and incentivizing loyalty with hollow promises is the real costliest mistake." I squared my shoulders, savoring the collective gasp. "If you'll excuse me, I have clients to serve." With that, I pivoted and walked out, leaving the CEO's half-finished speech and a company on fire in my wake. I never imagined that walking away from that cratering conference room would feel like stepping through a portal rather than out the front door. One moment, I was the outcast, the saboteur. The next, I was the visionary founder of Bluebridge Solutions, backed by 4 clients who believed in me more than my old employer ever had. I spent the ride home in a daze, equal parts exhilaration and dread, wondering how long I could sustain this momentum before reality caught up. Day 1 as founder Bluebridge was officially born at 8:14 a.m. the following morning, when I sent that fateful email to Alicia at Metrocorp. Metrocorp team thrilled to confirm our kickoff for Q2 ad campaign optimization. Attached is your initial roadmap. I'll be on standby for your feedback. Let's make magic. I hit send and stared at the screen. That one click felt like launching a rocket. My apartment, a cramped one-bedroom with peeling wallpaper, suddenly seemed absurdly small. I threw my overnight bag by the bedroom door, changed into a crisp blazer, my first real expense, and grabbed my phone. My colleagues from my agency days started pinging almost immediately. Some curious, some alarmed, some eager. Sam, project lead. Jordan, what have you done? Boss is flipping out. Tanya, designer. Congrats. If you need any design support, holler. Luis, data analyst. Are you hiring? I'm in. Within 10 minutes, I had 2 coffees scheduled, one with Tanya, one with Luis, and a frantic call from Sam trying to coax me back. Listen, we can talk this through, he pleaded. I let it go to voicemail. Building the core team, I knew clients would bail if I tried to go solo. Bluebridge needed a skeleton crew, nimble but expert. Over the next 3 days, I converted my apartment into mission control. Cables snaked across the floor, sticky notes covered every surface, and my laptop hummed with giddy ferocity. Tanya, the designer who could make a spreadsheet look like art, joined as creative director. She arrived wearing an oversized hoodie and a grin that said she loved chaos as much as I did. Luis, the data wizard, signed on with the promise of equity and endless coffee. He set up our analytics pipeline before lunch. Mia, a freelance copywriter I'd met years ago at a marketing mixer, agreed to ghostwrite our white papers and proposals for a stake in what might be the next big thing. By Friday afternoon, I had a solid 5-person team. We christened our makeshift office Bridge HQ, a nod to the bridge I was building between clients' goals and the sleek, cost-effective execution they craved. On Friday night, we toasted with sparkling water and instant noodles. To burning down the old world, I toasted, clinking my plastic cup against theirs. They laughed, but I saw the glint of belief in their eyes. The first scaled win, our maiden campaign, was with Metrocorp, a lean, data-driven ad blitz for a new product line. I stayed up for 2 nights straight, poring over targeting models, drafting ad copy, tweaking landing pages. Luis's dashboards glowed in the corner. Tanya's pixel-perfect mock-ups dazzled on screen. Mia's headlines were crisp enough to cut glass. When we launched Monday morning, I sat in Bridge HQ with the team, tracking performance in real time. Clicks leapt 42% in the first 2 hours. Conversion rate jumped from 1.8% to 3.6% by lunchtime. Cost per acquisition plummeted 29%. I could feel my pulse in my throat. By Wednesday, Metrocorp's CFO called, Jordan, this is unreal. Your team is crushing it. We'll roll out R&D budget for Phase 2. Name your price. Phase 2 doubled our fees, and our headcount doubled too. I hired Anna, a project manager with a Swiss watch precision for deadlines, and Zach, a developer who could spin up an API integration in his sleep. Bridge HQ overflowed into 2 rented desks at a co-working space, then 3, then a private suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. Mom rested her head on my shoulder. I'm so proud of you. I kissed her hair. Thank you for finding your way back. She sighed. We all took time to learn, but we're together now. I looked out at the quiet street, the sun dipping behind rooftops. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Flawed, messy, and filled with love. And for the first time, I knew that my worth had never been in an inheritance or a will, but in every step I took to heal, to grow, and to claim my own story. And tomorrow my doors would open to the first clients at Empower Center. Because sometimes real inheritance isn't money. It's the power to build something that changes lives. And in that realization, I felt profoundly rich. The Icarus Moment success is a dangerous drug. By month 3, blue-chip clients were queuing up. Peak Vista wanted machine learning enhancements. Green Edge Capital proposed a retainer deal. Northstar Nonprofit asked for a pro bono pilot. We were on a rocket ship, but I had no backup parachute. One evening, as I walked through Bridge HQ, now a polished office with framed client testimonials on the wall, I realized I hadn't slept in 3 days. My phone buzzed incessantly. My inbox was a torrent of requests. I'd traded my old employer's bureaucracy for our own. That's when the first crack appeared. A senior analyst, swamped by our growth spurt, missed a crucial data handoff to Metrocorp. The campaign froze for 24 hours. Performance stalled. Metrocorp's VP of Marketing sent a terse email. "We need a 24-hour buffer on deliverables moving forward. This lapse is unacceptable." My heart sank. I emailed an apology, offered 2 free weeks of service, and personally supervised the fix. The campaign recovered, but I felt the weight of our fragility. One mistake could undo everything. Alliances and betrayals as Bluebridge climbed, so did predators. A former colleague from my old firm, let's call him Darren, reached out under the guise of congratulation. He claimed he was exploring opportunities and wanted to catch up. Against my better judgment, I invited him to lunch. Over truffle fries and overpriced sparkler water, Darren spun tales of venture capitalists hungry for fresh agencies and untapped market segments. He dangled introductions. "I know people at Redwood Ventures," he said, eyes alight. "If you're serious, they could write a big check." Desperate to scale responsibly, I bit. I shared high-level metrics and demo decks. I thought I could control the narrative. In hindsight, I realized I handed him the keys to Bridge HQ. 2 weeks later, Darren vanished along with a half-baked investor pitch that bore uncanny resemblance to our own. A recruiter reached out to Tanya, offering her a 6-figure salary at a competing startup, an offer she nearly accepted until I reminded her of our equity potential. Luis and Nia got similar calls. I realized I was fighting a war on 2 fronts, scaling Bluebridge and repelling corporate espionage. I locked down our documents, tightened NDAs, and implemented 2-factor authentication. I scheduled a team offsite, an improvised retreat in a lakeside cabin to rebuild trust. By the campfire with loaves of garlic bread and s'mores marshmallows, we talked candidly about loyalty, ambition, and the allure of greener pastures. I confessed my own mistakes, how I'd let ambition blind me to risk, and they forgave me, recommitting to our shared dream. Crossing the Rubicon fueled by renewed solidarity, we launched the second major phase of our roadmap, AI-powered personalization for Peak Vista. It was uncharted territory for a boutique agency. The tech giants were already encroaching, but we leaned into our agility and close client ties. I remember the moment when the first AI-driven campaign rolled out. The system auto-segmented audiences in real time, adjusting creatives based on click patterns and sentiment analysis. Conversions soared to unheard-of heights, plus 78% engagement, plus 54% retention. Our reputation as the little agency that could exploded overnight. Press outlets started knocking, industry blogs, marketing podcasts, even a spot in a local business journal. I found myself on panels talking about lean innovation and human-first tech. Every mention invited more clients, and yes, more spies. I hired a PR consultant, expanded our dev team, and moved Bridge HQ into a proper office building with engraved signage. My LinkedIn profile transformed from account manager to founder and CEO. It felt surreal, as if I'd woken from a dream and discovered I was living someone else's life. The moment of reckoning. By the time Bluebridge turned 8 figures in annual revenue, just 6 months after my furious walkout, I should have been elated, but I wasn't. I was battered, hollowed out by sleepless nights, punctuated by micro-victories that barely registered on my pulse. One crisp morning, I stood at the window of my new corner office, watching the sun glitter over the river. My phone buzzed with a client escalation. Peak Vista's integration went live at 3 a.m., but half their user data had been lost in the migration. Another 24-hour blackout. Another furious apology. I sank into my leather chair, exhaustion pooling in my bones. The city hummed below, oblivious to the tiny agency up top, juggling crises like fire eaters. I realized I built a blaze so bright, it was burning me alive. That afternoon, I called an all-hands meeting. The entire team crowded into the glass-walled conference room, now equipped with plush chairs and a catered snack bar, symbols of our success. I slammed a fist on the table, startling everyone. "Listen up," I began, voice strained. "We've been hustling, pivoting, innovating." I paused as eyes locked onto me. "But I've lost my way. I forgot why we started this." Silence. Then Tanya raised her hand. "Why did you start Bluebridge, Jordan?" A simple question, yet it unraveled something inside me. I took a breath. Because I wanted to prove I mattered. Because I refused to be dismissed with a smirk. Luis chimed in. You matter, you showed us all what's possible. The room rippled with affirmation. In that moment, I realized Bluebridge wasn't about burning old companies down. It was about creating something relentless, human, and hopeful. We needed structure, balance, and a reminder of our original mission to put people over process and creativity over complacency. Rebuilding with purpose, over the next month, we instituted radical changes, wellness weeks, mandatory days off every quarter to prevent burnout. Client rotation. No one person could own more than 2 accounts to spread knowledge and reduce single-point failures. Innovation grants, a small fund for experimental projects, no strings attached. I hired a COO, someone to handle runway management and process optimization, so I could focus on vision and culture. I carved out Dear CEO hours, 2 afternoons a week, where any team member could book time to talk strategy or personal challenges. And I recommitted to hands-on work, writing code prototypes with Zach, sketching UI flows with Tanya, and brainstorming copy with Mia. By re-engaging in the creative trenches, I rediscovered the joy that sparked this whole reckoning. Epilogue. Beyond the blaze. 2 years after that fateful HR meeting, Bluebridge Solutions boasts 30 employees across 3 continents, 25 major clients in technology, finance, nonprofit, and retail. A culture lauded for empathy, transparency, and radical innovation. We survived espionage, misfires, and the scorching heat of rapid growth. We're not perfect. Projects still hiccup, deadlines still loom, and budgets still tighten. But we're alive, and that's the difference. As for HR, I've since received a terse LinkedIn request from Marissa, congratulating me on our Series B round. I politely declined the connection. Because I don't look back, I only look forward to the next challenge, the next client, the next spark that sets new fires. And I'll always remember, sometimes you have to let something burn to build something that truly lights the world.